Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video that I've gotten a couple of requests for, which is to draw hands. So I'm going to be showing how to do like a regular hand, just kind of flat like this, and then also a couple other hands that you can kind of have some different poses and different examples on how to do this. But I do want to mention that before trying this out, if you haven't already, you should watch the last video that I made, which was the beginner's guide to using graphite, because that's going to be really helpful for this video, just knowing kind of the basics and stuff. It's only like 5 or 6 minutes long, so it's not going to take forever to watch, so I definitely recommend that. But let's go ahead and get started with this. So here I have my sketch pad. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip to my blank page here. And I also have my pencils. So this is just kind of a variety of several different sets, but any set works. Like I said in my last video, there's really no specific set to use. Any set will work. And then I also have my kneaded eraser. Oh, plus I have the blending stumps that I mentioned as well. So, like I said, they come in all different shapes and sizes. So just find a set maybe to use, or you can use cotton swabs. That works too. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And like I said, I'm just going to start off with a really simple hand, and it's going to be just like my hand like this. And I want to focus on like the shape and kind of the different like lines and stuff. So I think that this is a good idea to like start with before you try any other hands. So I'm going to start off with a 2H pencil just to sketch out with. So let me find a 2H. And I'm going to start off by just looking at the palm of my hand. So you can kind of see it's kind of a weird shape. So you just want to start off by drawing that. So I'm just going to put my hand over here so you guys can see what it looks like. And I'm gonna draw. So I'm just focusing on like the shape, like this. So I think that's good. That looks like my palm. So you just want to focus on kind of right from this area around here and stopping like here. So just kind of try drawing that out. So I've gotten my palm done now, and I'm gonna work on my fingers. So if you look at your fingers, you have like 3 different kind of sections. So you have 1, 2, 3. So for me, it's easiest to like divide your fingers up into those sections as you're trying to draw it. So let me show you. But I'm gonna start with my index finger. So I'm gonna do like kind of like a circle-ish kind of shape here for now, and I'll fix it later. But I'm just gonna make kind of like a circle like that, and then make sure you're getting it like the right shape. So it's kind of like a where this line is right here on my hand. It's kind of tall right there, so I'm making the circle kind of the same kind of height. And then another circle for another one of the sections on my fingers. I don't really know what they're called, but whatever. And then the last section, I guess. So then you have that. And it looks funny right now, but we'll go in and fix it later, don't worry. And then you want to see how much space that you have in between your index finger and your middle finger. So then I'm going to try and make that same amount of space on my drawing. so that it looks accurate. And the drawing that I'm making is a bit smaller than my actual hand. It probably would have been better to make it like proportional to the size of my hand, but it's okay if you did it smaller or bigger. For me, it's easier just to make things smaller. I'm not sure why. But if you want to make it bigger, then you can. So there's that finger, and then your ring finger, my ring finger at least, is shorter than my middle finger. So I'm gonna make sure that I show that in my drawing. And then lastly, my pinky, which I kind of have my fingers spread out so that there's more space, but if you want to draw it so that you have less space or whatever in between those fingers, then that's fine too. Now your pinky is going to be shorter probably than the rest of your fingers, so just make sure that that's obvious when you're doing it. And then, so now I have this shape. I'm gonna kind of use my eraser though, because the shape that I did for my palm, it's kind of sticking out too far. So I'm just gonna fix that real quick. There we go, that's better. And then I'm gonna work on my thumb. Now for me, my thumb is the hardest part, but you just have to practice, and that's really how you can improve. But here, let me find a way to show you guys my thumb. But I'm just going to start. Now with your thumb, you can't really make the circles as much as well. I mean, you still have like the individual sections, 1, 2, 3, but it's harder to do that when your thumb is facing like sideways and not like straight facing forward like the other fingers. So you kind of have to make it work. But I'm just gonna start off. Now here you can see there's kind of like a slope, kind of like a U shape here. So I'm just gonna start by making that U shape kind of, I guess. And then going this way. So I'm just going to come out. Now on my thumb, it's kind of got like an angle right here and right there. So I'm just gonna make that too. It might look funny at first, but you just have to kind of erase and edit it as you're doing it to make it the right shape. Yeah, it looks really funny right now, but I just have to work with it and make it work. That's what I have to do when I'm drawing hands. It's hard to make it perfect the first time. You just have to keep working with it and erase until you get the shape that you like. Then I'm gonna do my fingernail. So yeah, that looks kind of weird. So I'm just gonna kind of play with it until I get a shape that I like. The thumb has always been really hard for me. I don't understand why. But if you just focus on the shapes of your thumb until you get it right, then you should be good. That looks better. It still looks kind of weird, but I think that once it's all done, it'll look more cohesive. I also want to mention that if you focus on where the fingers line up, so for your thumb, my thumb lines up right about here. So I think that I was just making my thumb way too tall. So I'm just gonna try that again and see if I can make my thumb again lining it up the right way. And you can see it already looks better. So you have to focus on that too. I forgot to mention that. But now that once you've gotten your basic sketch kind of thing done like this, I'm gonna work on making the actual, like, not just having circles, you know, making actual fingers. So basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to kind of outline where the circles are, like this. And right around the edge right here, you can kind of make it slope inwards. And I'm just going to do this for all my fingers. My thumb, since I didn't really do the circle thing, I don't have to do that, but for my other fingers, I do. Alright, there, hand. So I've gotten kind of a basic sketch done here. I'm still using the same pencil, the same 2H pencil, by the way. And now I'm going to do a little bit of my wrist. So I'm just going to focus on kind of this shape here. So going along here and then going inwards like this. You don't have to do your wrist if you don't want to, but I think it makes it look more like a hand. So there, wrist. So now basically, before you start to shade it in, I like to focus on just fixing anything that I want to edit, making sure that it looks like my hand before I go too far and start drawing, like shading it in, and it looks bad. So just make sure that you have the right proportions and everything. That's the hardest part of this, is to get the proportions right. But if you just focus on each little shape and use the techniques of making the circles and just focus on that, it'll be a lot easier to draw. Okay, so I've gotten the shape of my hand done. The hard part is over with. Good. So now I'm going to work on making the shading in my hand and all that, and like these specific lines, and I have this freckle here, just any random things like that. So I'm going to start off with, let's see, I'm going to use a, I think I'm going to go with like a 3B or a 4B. Some sets don't come with a 3B. I'm going to use a 4B. I have this one here. So I'm just going to, by Faber-Castell. So I'm just going to use this one. And I'm going to start off by looking at my hand and finding any areas that are like a little bit darker than the other parts. So you can see like in this area, all these little lines that I have separating those sections that I was talking about, and all these lines. So you really have to focus on what sections are darker. And over here around my thumb, it looks a lot darker. Here I have like some shadows and stuff up in here. So I'm just gonna focus on kind of coloring those sections in. So I'm just kind of using kind of the tip of the pencil to make like these shadows that I have around this area. And then after that, I will blend it out, and then we can start working on like other details so that it will look right. But I'm kind of just doing this for now. Not necessarily even the parts that are darker, kind of just, you want the whole hand to kind of have like the same kind of shade at first, I think. And then after that, you can try to get in those shadows and highlights with the different pencils and like erasers and stuff. So, you know what? I'm just going to go over the whole hand with this color. There. And then I'm going to use a blending stump to blend that out. So if you have a cotton swab, that'll work too. It just might take a bit longer if you have like, if you're drawing something bigger than I am. So I'm just blending out all this. and it's gonna look really dark probably, especially if you have like a lighter skin tone, but that's what the eraser's for, is to add in those highlights. So now I'm just gonna go in and it's kind of light right there. Let me blend it out a little bit more. There we go. I'm gonna take the same pencil, the 4H one, and I'm gonna start to make those shadows that I was talking about a second ago. So right around this area I have shadows going up to here, and then right here and then I have a bunch of shadow over on this area of my thumb, so I'm just gonna get it in over here. And then I'm gonna work on like these lines, so just make sure you get like the shape right. Just shading this in. And right around here, around where your wrist starts, you want to make sure that the line isn't too sharp and like straight. Like, you want it to be round. Okay, so now I've got a basic looking hand, but I want to add in some more highlights. So I'm going to use my kneaded eraser, and I'm going to kind of get it to a shape kind of like this, like that. And then I'm going to look at my hand, and like right in here I have a lot of lighter areas, kind of in like the opposite areas of where the shadows are. You kind of want to focus on those highlights. Sorry, I lost the word. And you can, as you're doing it, you can go in and you can blend things out. You can add in more shadows. But I'm just gonna play around with the kneaded eraser and with the pencil and the blending stump until I get a nice looking shading in the hand. And I do want to mention that for the lines right here, you already have like the circle shapes that you made, but you might want to like erase those kind of lines right there so that you can still see them a little bit. And then you can go in and add, like, you might want to use a 2H pencil so it doesn't blend as much. But you're just gonna probably want to go in and kind of remake those lines a little bit so that it looks more realistic and not just like a circle round kind of line like that. And then on the edges that you have, so if you lay your hand flat, it's kind of hard to see through the camera right here and, you know, on the table that I'm at, but you want to see kind of where your shadow is. So not on your fingers, but around your fingers. So my shadow is going this way. So if it's darker over here and lighter over here, you're going to want to make sure that you show that. So I'm just using, actually I'm going to use a 4H, but I'm just going to use that to make a shadow going this way, and then I'm going to blend that out. Just like this. Remember that your 2H pencil is going to write lighter than the 4H or any other pencil. So if you want something that's not as dark and not as deep, then use the 2H. Alright, so now I have this hand, and the goal with this is to make it look like it's popping off the page. And with mine, I think I kind of succeeded. I'm happy with that. Oh, I forgot the fingernail. Oops. For the fingernail, you can kind of just lightly shade it in like this. Unless you're wearing like, you have like nail polish or something, then you might want to do it darker, lighter, depending on the color. But I'm not. I don't have mine painted, so I just have the basic nail color right there. But now I have this hand, which I am pretty happy with. Let me bring it closer so you guys can see. But I'm happy with that. So I'm just gonna let this be for now, and we can work on another hand. So next I'm gonna show a different hand. I'm probably gonna do a hand that's kind of laying flat, maybe kind of like that. So it'll be cool to try that out. But I'm just gonna find a picture and then use that. So before I used my hand, my actual hand, looking at it, but sometimes it's better and easier to just find a picture to use when you're drawing things and looking at shapes and stuff. So I found this picture right here. That's the picture I'm going to be using. And so I'm just gonna, instead of actually using my own hand, I'm just gonna look at a picture just to make it easier for this part, because it's kind of hard to keep your hand like cupped in the same pose for the whole time. So for this hand, it's probably gonna be a little bit more difficult, but I'm gonna start off with the same 2H pencil. And I'm going to, let's see here. I'm gonna start off with kind of so I'm still looking at the palm kind of like I did before, starting off with that. And you can see that it's going kind of down like this and into the wrist. Kind of like that. So once again, I'm just focusing on these shapes, getting the shape right so that it looks like proportional to the picture. I have the thumb here. With this picture, it's kind of harder to do the whole circle thing with the fingers like we did in the last one, but it's still gonna work out. Let's just try it like this. So maybe about here. You just kind of have to estimate and where these shapes are until you get something easier. So I'm coming up this way and not just looking at, but you want to like compare it to the other parts. So once I have this finger done, I can compare the side, like where that finger ended, so I can make this next finger, which would be right about here. I'm gonna fix that because it kind of got all wonky. You don't want the fingers to be too fat or too skinny. Make them the right size. And then I'm gonna go down here and make the rest of the wrist. Make the fingernail right here. didn't really need to color it in, but that's okay. I can fix that later. The fingernails in this picture are colored, so, but if you don't want to make them colored, you don't have to. And the other finger, you don't see the whole finger, it's just right there. And the fingernail. And then you can see the rest of this finger here. Or wait, no, that's a separate finger, never mind. It's not this rest of the other finger. But you can see I went like way up over here, but now that I'm looking back at it, it's more cupped going this way. I kind of stretched it out a little bit, but that's okay. Maybe I'll fix that. See, it's all about erasing and fixing your mistakes, because mistakes are how you learn. So you just gotta keep going and playing around with it until you get a shape you like. And then I have the thumb again. Just remember that the more that you practice, the easier it'll get. You just gotta work on it until you get it how you like it. And it'll get easier as you try more and more poses. But now I've kind of got this basic shape here for a hand. It doesn't look perfect, but like I said, practice is what'll make it look better. So now I'm gonna work on the shading. So once again, I'm gonna use that same 4H. And last time I did it, I just shaded the whole thing in with the 4H. But here, especially right around this area, there's a lot more lighter colors, and right around here. So I'm just gonna kind of do it everywhere except for where those specific highlights are. And right around here, there's some highlights that I want to avoid. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Just shading in those specific areas. And then like last time, I'm gonna go ahead and blend that out. And like I did last time, building up those shadows. So I had that really light base of shadows, and now I'm going in with some darker shadows again. Just building it up slowly. Don't want to go too dark at once, because that could mess it up. Gonna go in with my eraser and add some, or erase right here so that I can fix that fingernail. I'm gonna go in with the 2H. Where did I put that? Oh, it's up here. So I'm just gonna fix that shape because I went a little bit too dark right there. Like I said, you want to build up those shadows instead of going all at once. And for the fingernails, I think I'm just gonna do kind of that color. Then on the picture, there's not really a shadow like we did over here that's like coming off of the edge. So I'm just gonna kind of make that up myself, and I'm gonna do it over here, but I'm gonna get a darker pencil. So I'm gonna use the 6B so that it stands out from the rest of the area that I had that was shaded in. So now I've gotten, I think this hand looks pretty good, but before I'm done, I'm just gonna touch up any other details before I finish. And once you like it and you've gotten a nice shadow and everything that you like, you're done. So I'm gonna, after this hand, I'm gonna do one more hand, and then you can try out some different poses, find your own pictures, use your own hand if you want to find some different, you know, poses, hand poses and stuff, to practice with, so that you can improve. So this last hand that I'm going to do is right on the side like I did before. It's going to be like a fist. So once again, starting off with the 2H pencil. The palm in this one, you can't really see as much as you could in the other ones, or in the first one, sorry. You couldn't really see the palm as much at all in the second one. But I'm just gonna kind of do what I can see of the palm so that I can go from there with the fingers and everything. So I'm just starting on like the side, on the left side of the hand, and forming like that wrist that you see over there, and then over here you have a shape that's kind of going down like this, out this way, and up and around till you see the thumb. Right here you have the wrist where it starts, so I'm just gonna kind of form that line so that you can kind of see there. And then from there, that's where the fingers start. So I'm gonna start over here just because I think it'll be easier. And I'm gonna start making those shapes. So for the fist, it's going to have kind of like on the first thing how we did 3 circles, this kind of, you just have 1 circle. So I'm just gonna make that 1 circle. And then over here, for the thumb, I'll just figure that out. These are actually kind of small. I'm gonna make them bigger. Just playing around with it. And then from there, I can start to form the fingers. So they're all like squished up against each other. So I'm gonna make sure that I show that. And then over here I have, so the finger will go in kind of like this, and then it comes out and kind of around like this, and then the fingernail. You just want to make sure that they look squished together, because that's going to help it look like a fist and not just like fingers folded onto one another. And then this one, you can't even see the fingernail at all. So it's kind of just stops there. And then on this one, you can see a tiny, tiny bit of the fingernail, but barely at all. So I'm just going to put that in later. And then for the thumb, it kind of goes a bit taller than the rest, and it goes around like this, kind of curves in here like that, and then the fingernail. So I think that that's a decent start. So I'm just gonna make sure that I like the proportions of this, and then I will work on shading it in like I did the other hands. Alright, so I've got the shape of the fist now, and I'm going to work on making the shadows. So once again, I'm going to go in with the 4H and lightly go in those areas. Pretty much the whole hand, except the really highlighted areas like I did on the last one. So the really highlighted areas on this one are right over here and like on the very center of the fingers. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in like I did before and just build up those shadows. So I've got a lot of shadow over, like, under the fingers. That's gonna help kind of distinguish the fingers out and make it look more 3D to put a shadow right under there. So I'm just gonna speed up this part since you guys kind of saw the last parts and how I built up the shadows, and I'm just gonna continue with this, building up those shadows and erasing to get the highlights. So just go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've gotten pretty much the basics of this done, and I'm happy with how the shadows and everything turned out. So once you can tell that it's popping off the page, that's when you know you have enough shadows, enough highlights. Just make sure that you get this shadow over here, or over here if you want to, because that's going to help you to make it look like it's 3D. Well, anyways, that's it for this video. I hope this was helpful in showing how to draw hands. Definitely try finding some pictures or using your own hand to do some more poses, because that's really going to help you to improve if you continue to practice doing this, trying to figure out how to get those shadows and highlights yourself instead of just following along with the video. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful. Bye.